Reporting live from UNLV, I'm Krista Munoz.
And I'm David Witt. Tonight's top story, and what the FBI is calling the largest healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the District of Columbia. In total, 25 people in the DC area were charged with fraud. Out of these 25 people, 13 were personal care assistants, 10 were recruiters, 1 was a home care agency owner, and 1 was a nurse staffing agency owner. The FBI was tipped off when they saw a Medicaid services bill in the DC area jump from $40 million in 2006 all the way up to $280 million in 2013. Wow, what a jump.
It's incredible. Never would have guessed it. Many are now wondering how such a large lump sum of money could go unnoticed for 3 years. Officials tell us this type of collision is difficult to detect, even more so when perpetrators possess reward power and can offer beneficiaries kickbacks in return. It seems co-conspirators were receiving hundreds of dollars per week in exchange for signing bogus timesheets. These timesheets are used in home care assistance programs where perpetrators are claiming to have spent hours a day with patients. They are paid to assist them with daily living activities such as mobility and feeding assistance. In addition, the perpetrators convince patients to fake injuries and illnesses to provide a need for such services. To further perpetuate the fraud, patients use a chemo in the public eye. As the overall Medicaid enrollment increases, Medicaid users will have the opportunity to bill for a greater amount of services, home care being one of them.
The owner of 3 home care agencies, Florence Bicundi, managed to extort $75 million in filing false claims. Opportunity presented itself as she proved to be highly capable of committing fraud on such a large scale. She possessed technical knowledge as well as industry-specific knowledge, not only as an unlicensed nurse, but also as an owner of 3 home care agencies. Her understanding of internal controls and accounting relationships furthered her success in the fraud. Ms. Bicundi submitted false documents to Medicaid, claiming her patients needed extensive care, when in reality they did not need any care. She would then pocket the extra money after paying off the patient and her personal care assistants. Now we'll take you out to Mitchell in DC with more on the case. Mitchell?
It is a frigid evening here in DC, but tempers continue to flare as more details are released about what is being called the largest Medicaid fraud in DC history. Concerned citizens are asking what the FBI or other authorities are planning to do to stop this rising crime. According to the National Association for Home Care and Hospice, as Medicaid home care spending increases, anti-fraud efforts have focused more resources in a variety of risk areas. Recent prosecutions have highlighted serious program integrity weaknesses in both consumer-directed and agency models of home care. These prosecutions include many cases of billing for services never rendered and include allegations of beneficiary complicity as well. Often family members are involved. It appears that the concerns with billing for services never rendered are especially acute in consumer-directed care programs. While these types of home care delivery models provide an important level of control to the client, they'll also run a higher risk of fraud, particularly where the caregivers are from the client's family. These risks may provide home care agencies with an opportunity to supply some program integrity oversight along with caregiver training and supervision. At the same time, agencies should guard against Medicaid programs promulgating new regulatory measures that affect agency model and consumer-directed care equally. It can be anticipated that investigations and prosecutions will continue for some time to come as states share information and strategies. Home care companies doing business with Medicaid should be well served if they redouble their internal program integrity effort. Home care companies should use service attendance and documentation systems that provide reliable ways to validate any self-submitted information. Further, agencies should engage in at least spot checks with recipients to ensure actual delivery of care and continued eligibility for services. In many circumstances, Medicaid will attempt to recover any fraudulent payments from the agency, even if the agency is not implicated in the fraud. In addition, the fraud of an employee can create a risk that the employer is also charged with fraud. Home care companies should anticipate future regulatory and legislative action to stem the growing instances of home care fraud that is seemingly on the horizon in Illinois. Individual caregiver fraud has also led to a movement to require background checks for its caregivers. This is Mitch Orozco reporting live from DC. Now back to the studio.
Thank you, Mitchell. We are told prosecutors have only gone after providers and not patients. However, if the number of fraud cases and the extent of damage continues to increase, there is no doubt that authorities will start going after beneficiaries as well.
You know, and they should consider prosecuting beneficiaries as well.
It makes sense. It's not sending the right message when some fraudsters can go free.
No, not at all. It's like going fishing and catching the little fish and throwing them back into the sea and just going after the big one. Well, guys, that's all we have for you tonight.
Thank you for joining us, and good night.
Good day.